A turbocharged SUV followed the dealer maintenance schedule to the letter. Every service right on time. At 67,000 miles, the turbo failed. Repair bill was $4,800. The owner down the street, with the exact same engine, just passed 200,000 miles on the original turbo. Same engine, same year, completely different outcome. The difference had nothing to do with luck. It came down to 12 maintenance habits that go against almost everything modern car advice tells you to do. Some of these will contradict your owner's manual. A few of them will make your dealership service advisor visibly uncomfortable. And at least 2 of them go against what the entire car enthusiast community considers gospel. But every single one is backed by how turbocharged engines actually work under real-world conditions. These are 12 forbidden maintenance hacks that make turbo engines last 1,000,000 miles. And number 7 is the one almost nobody even knows exists. Number 12. The single fastest way to kill a turbocharged engine is to follow the manufacturer oil change interval. That sounds insane. The people who built the engine are telling you when to change the oil. Why would you ignore them? Here is why. Most manufacturers recommend oil changes between 10,000 and 15,000 miles on turbo engines. That interval is designed for ideal conditions. Perfect weather. Highway cruising, no dust, no short trips. Almost nobody drives like that. The turbo itself spins at over 100,000 revolutions per minute, and it is lubricated and cooled by engine oil. That oil is being superheated every time the turbo spools. It breaks down faster. The additives wear out sooner. And contaminated oil is the #1 killer of turbochargers. A $4,000 repair that starts with a $20 oil change you skipped. Cut that interval in half. 5,000 miles maximum. Use full synthetic every single time. And between changes, check that oil level every 2 weeks because turbo engines consume oil by nature. The turbo seals weep small amounts into the intake. That is normal. But if you are running long intervals and the level drops without you knowing, you are starving the turbo of the one thing keeping it alive. And this connects directly to the next hack because what you do after driving matters just as much as what oil you use. Number 11. After a long highway drive or a spirited run through back roads, most people pull into the driveway, turn the key, and walk away. With the turbocharged engine, that simple habit is silently destroying the turbo from the inside. Here is what is happening. While driving hard, the turbo is spinning at extreme speeds and building intense heat. Oil is flowing through tiny passages in the turbo shaft, cooling the bearings and absorbing that heat. The moment you shut the engine off, oil flow stops immediately. But the turbo is still scorching hot. That oil sitting inside those passages is now being cooked. It does not just degrade, it bakes into sludge. And that sludge slowly clogs the passages that feed oil to the turbo. Do that enough times and one day the turbo starves. No oil flow, no cooling. Total turbo failure. The fix is almost embarrassingly simple. After any high-load driving, let the engine idle for 60 to 90 seconds before shutting it off. That is it. Just sit there, let the oil circulate and carry that heat away. If you cannot idle, there is another option. Drive the last mile or two to your stop at low RPMs. That gives the turbo time to wind down gradually. There are even devices called turbo timers that keep the engine idling for a set period after you remove the key and walk away. But the cool down is only half the equation. What you do before you drive matters just as much, and almost everyone gets it wrong. Number 10. You have probably heard it 100 times. Modern engines do not need to warm up. Just start it and drive. That advice is fine for a naturally aspirated engine. For a turbocharged engine, it is a shortcut to premature wear. Here is why. When you cold start a turbo engine, the oil is thick and sluggish, especially in winter. That oil has to travel through very small passages to reach the turbo bearings. When it is cold, it does not flow well through those tiny channels. Now, if you start the car and immediately get on the highway, you are asking the turbo to spool at full speed with oil that has not reached it properly yet. Metal on metal, no cushion. That is where the microscopic damage begins, and it adds up over thousands of cold starts. A Japanese engineer once described it perfectly. An engine is like an athlete. You would never sprint without stretching first. The fix is not sitting in your driveway for 15 minutes wasting fuel. Just give it 60 seconds at idle. Then drive gently for the first few minutes, keeping the RPMs low until the engine is up to temperature. And here is the part most people miss. The gauge on your dashboard shows coolant temperature, not oil temperature. Oil takes significantly longer to warm up. The only way to actually know is with an OBD2 scanner that reads oil temperature. That one tool changes everything about how you treat cold starts. And while you have that scanner plugged in, there is another sensor you should be checking that most people do not even know exists. We will get to that one soon. Number 9. Your dealership will tell you the air filter is fine at every service visit. They will eyeball it and put it back. On a turbo engine, that visual check means nothing. A standard engine pulls air in naturally. A turbocharged engine forces air in under pressure. That turbo is acting like a vacuum, pulling massive amounts of air through the filter. And with that air comes dust, dirt, and debris at a much higher volume than any regular engine would ever see. That means your air filter clogs faster, sometimes twice as fast. And a clogged filter on a turbo engine is not just a minor efficiency issue, it changes everything. The turbo has to work harder to pull air through a restricted filter. That extra effort means more heat, more shaft stress, faster bearing wear. And if that filter degrades to the point where debris gets past it, you now have microscopic particles entering the compressor side of the turbo. Sand and dust hitting a turbine spinning at tens of thousands of RPM will shred the blades. Once those blades are damaged, the turbo is done for. If you live anywhere with dust, gravel roads, or heavy pollen, you are at even higher risk. Check that air filter every oil change. Replace it at half the manufacturer interval. And do not cheap out with bargain filters. A quality OEM spec filter pays for itself 1,000 times over compared to a turbo replacement. Number 8. This one starts arguments every single time. If your turbocharged engine says premium recommended, most people read that as optional. Saves a few bucks every fill-up. Over a year, that adds up. Feels smart. Here is what is actually happening inside your engine. Premium fuel has a higher octane rating, which means it resists premature ignition under pressure. A turbocharger is literally forcing extra air into the combustion chamber, creating significantly more pressure than a naturally aspirated engine. When you put lower octane fuel into that high-pressure environment, the fuel can ignite before the spark plug fires. That is called detonation or engine knock. In a regular engine, the computer can compensate by pulling timing and reducing performance. You lose a little power, but nothing breaks. In a turbocharged engine, under boost, that detonation hits differently. The combination of turbo pressure and premature ignition creates shock waves inside the cylinder that can crack pistons and destroy bearings in a matter of months, not years, months. The savings from regular fuel over the life of ownership might total a few $100s. One piston failure on a turbocharged engine starts at $2,000 and goes up fast. If the manual says premium recommended on a turbo engine, treat that word as required. The engineers wrote recommended because the legal team told them to. The engine was designed for premium. Now, the next hack costs even less than a tank of gas, but almost nobody does it. And it protects a sensor that controls everything your engine does. Number 7. This is the one almost nobody knows about. Your mass airflow sensor is a small component sitting between the air filter and the engine. Its entire job is to measure exactly how much air is entering the engine so the computer can calculate the perfect fuel mixture. When it reads correctly, your engine runs efficiently. When it is dirty, everything falls apart. And on turbocharged engines, it gets dirty much faster than on regular engines. Here is why. Turbo engines push oil vapor through the PCV system and back into the intake. That oil mist coats the delicate wire inside the MAF sensor over time. Once that wire is contaminated, the sensor sends wrong readings to the computer. The engine runs rich or lean. Fuel consumption jumps by as much as 20%, and if it goes long enough, the catalytic converter takes damage from unburned fuel. Most people never touch this sensor until the check engine light comes on. By then, the computer has been compensating for bad readings for thousands of miles, causing unnecessary wear across the entire engine. In Japan, mechanics clean this sensor as part of every routine service because they know a dirty MAF is invisible damage. The fix takes 5 minutes and costs less than $10. 1 can of MAF sensor cleaner spray. Remove the sensor, spray it, let it dry, reinstall. That $10 can protects a $200 sensor and prevents thousands in downstream damage. Do it every oil change without exception. If even one of these hacks was new to you, there are 6 more coming, and they get more controversial from here. Number 3 is going to challenge everything the car enthusiast community believes. Hit subscribe and stay right here. Number 6. This next hack involves a part that is slowly filling with oil on almost every turbocharged car on the road right now. and it is not on a single maintenance schedule anywhere: the intercooler. This is the part that sits between the turbo and the engine. After the turbo compresses air, that air gets extremely hot. Hot air is less dense, which means less power. The intercooler cools that compressed air down before it enters the engine. The problem is that turbo seals weep small amounts of oil past the compressor side, and that oil ends up coating the inside of the intercooler. Over tens of thousands of miles, that oil builds up. It restricts airflow, it reduces cooling efficiency, and in severe cases, especially on high-mileage turbos with worn seals, it can get sucked into the engine in large enough quantities to cause a dangerous condition called hydrolock, where liquid enters the cylinder and the piston cannot compress it. The result is bent rods or a cracked block. Most owners never think about the intercooler because it is not on any standard maintenance schedule. Dealerships almost never suggest it, but pulling the intercooler and flushing it every 50,000 miles is one of the smartest things you can do for a turbo engine. While you are at it, install an oil catch can in the PCV line. This small device traps oil vapor before it ever reaches the intake or intercooler. It is cheap protection against a problem that builds invisibly for years. Number 5. There is a small braided line that feeds oil from the engine to the turbo. It is the lifeline that keeps the turbo bearings lubricated and cooled, and on most turbocharged cars, nobody ever looks at it until it fails. These oil feed lines, especially braided or rubber types, are exposed to extreme heat cycling every single time you drive. Over years, that constant expansion and contraction hardens the line, cracks it, restricts it, and eventually it either leaks or clogs. When it leaks, you lose oil onto the exhaust manifold. That is a fire risk, and it drains the oil supply that the turbo depends on. When it clogs, the turbo starves, bearings overheat, shaft play develops, and the turbo is finished. The Japanese have a maintenance philosophy that most Western drivers consider wasteful. Replace critical parts before they fail, not after. That line costs $30 to $60 depending on the car. Replacing it preventively around 80,000 miles takes less than an hour on most vehicles. A seized turbo that takes the oil feed line, the drain line, and possibly the catalytic converter with it. That repair starts at 3,000 and climbs fast. No dealership will ever suggest replacing a part that still works. They make more money when it fails catastrophically. This is one of those hacks where spending $60 today saves you $3,000 tomorrow. Number 4. This one is going to surprise a lot of people who think they are babying their engine. Driving at low RPMs in a high gear to save fuel feels responsible. On a naturally aspirated engine, it mostly is. On a turbocharged engine, it can be one of the most damaging things you do. It is called lugging. When you are in a high gear at low RPMs and you press the accelerator, the engine is under heavy load but turning slowly. The turbo spools up and forces air into cylinders that are not moving fast enough to efficiently burn the mixture. This creates extreme cylinder pressure at low speeds, which puts massive stress on the connecting rods, the crankshaft bearings, and the piston rings. Even worse, the oil is not circulating as effectively at low RPMs, so the turbo is working hard without adequate lubrication. The detonation risk we covered earlier also spikes because the slow-burning fuel has more time to pre-ignite under all that boost pressure. People who drive manual transmissions are especially guilty of this. Staying in 6th gear at 35 miles per hour because the engine is quiet and the fuel gauge is not moving. That quietness is not efficiency. It is the engine straining under load it was not designed to handle at that speed. The fix is simple: downshift. If you feel the engine pulling or vibrating under acceleration, you are lugging it. Drop a gear and let the RPMs rise. The turbo was designed to operate in the mid-range, not to be forced at the bottom. That was the last of the driving habits. What comes next are 3 hacks that are going to make the car modification community very uncomfortable. Number 3. This is where the car community is going to come for blood. If you have installed a cold air intake or a pod filter on your turbocharged economy car, take it off. Not because aftermarket intakes are bad in general, but because on modern turbocharged engines, they create more problems than they solve. Here's the reality. Factory airboxes on turbo cars are engineered specifically for that turbo. The diameter of the intake tract, the length of the tubing, and the volume of the airbox are all calibrated, so the turbo gets smooth, consistent airflow. When you bolt on an aftermarket intake, you change that airflow profile. The turbo gets more air in uncontrolled bursts. The MAF sensor we talked about earlier now gets readings it was not calibrated for. The computer starts making fuel corrections that are never quite right. Over time, you get lean conditions under boost. That means higher combustion temperatures, more detonation risk, and accelerated wear on pistons and valves. But here is what really gets people. That 5 to 10 horsepower gain the intake company promised you on the box was measured on a dyno under perfect conditions. In real-world driving with heat soak and turbulence, you're getting almost none of it. What you are getting is a louder intake noise. That is it. That whoosh sound is not power. It is your turbo working harder to manage chaotic airflow. The factory engineers spent millions designing that airbox. A $60 aluminum pipe is not the upgrade you think it is. Number 2. If hack number 3 made you angry, this one is going to be worse. That aftermarket blow-off valve you installed for the sound. The one that releases a satisfying whoosh every time you let off the gas. It is messing with your engine in ways you cannot hear. Here is what is actually happening. A factory bypass valve takes excess boost pressure and recirculates it back into the intake before the turbo. That air has already been measured by the mass airflow sensor. The computer knows about it. Everything stays balanced. An aftermarket blow-off valve releases that pressurized air into the atmosphere. But the computer already counted that air and injected fuel to match it. Now the fuel mixture is wrong. The engine momentarily runs rich. The computer scrambles to correct. This happens every single time you shift or lift off the throttle, hundreds of times per drive. Each correction is a tiny disruption that adds up. You get rough idle, hesitation between shifts, check engine lights that come and go, and over thousands of cycles, these repeated rich spikes put cumulative stress on the catalytic converter and oxygen sensors. On older turbocharged cars from the 90s, this was not an issue because those engines used simpler air metering. Modern engines use highly precise mass airflow calculations. Releasing metered air to the atmosphere throws that precision into chaos. The sound is addictive. Nobody is denying that, but that 2-second whoosh is costing you efficiency, reliability, and eventually repair bills that make the sound a lot less satisfying. Number 1. The single most forbidden hack on this entire list is also the simplest advice. Do not touch the boost. Do not install a manual boost controller. Do not flash the ECU for more power. Do not even think about turning up the boost pressure on a turbocharged economy engine. Here is what nobody in the modification community wants to admit. That turbo on your daily driver is not a performance turbo. It is an efficiency turbo. The manufacturer put it there so they could use a tiny engine that meets fuel economy standards while still producing enough power to not feel completely gutless. That turbo is already working near its maximum design limit from the factory. There is no hidden power waiting to be unlocked. There is only the margin of safety that engineers built in to keep the engine alive. When you increase boost pressure even slightly, you push past that margin. The injectors cannot deliver enough fuel to match the extra air. The engine runs lean under boost. Combustion temperatures spike, and detonation becomes almost inevitable. Remember what we said about oil being the lifeline of this engine. Now imagine that engine running lean at pressures it was never designed for, while that oil is already working overtime to cool a turbo that is being pushed past its limit. A melted ringland, a hole straight through the top of a cylinder. These are not exaggerations. These are the results that shops see over and over from people who installed a $50 boost controller chasing an extra 15 horsepower. In the 90s, you could get away with it because those turbo engines were overbuilt with thick cast iron blocks and massive safety margins. Modern turbo engines use lightweight aluminum and are engineered to the absolute edge of efficiency. There is no room left. That $50 mod turns into a $5,000 engine rebuild every single time. 12 hacks. Some simple, some controversial, all of them backed by how these engines actually work under real-world stress. A turbocharged engine is not a regular engine with extra power. It is a precision machine that demands a different level of respect. Treat it differently and it will outlast anything else on the road. If you have already done one of these forbidden mods, be honest in the comments. No judgment, just tell us what happened. Subscribe if this changed how you think about your turbo, and share this with someone who just bought a turbocharged car before they learn these lessons the expensive way.